Time now for our new special social media review. We're going to be doing it every day in the lead up to the ANC's national conference and throughout. Today we're going to take a look at the inception of the step-aside rule, party members that have been affected and where they are now as we head into that 55th national conference. My colleagues, SABC News specialist researcher Maswele Ralebona, as well as Tembiso Sitole, our SABC News social media specialist, will join us for this one. And I can't wait to see what you put together. Maswele, let's start with you and the step-aside rule. Now, I know it affects a number of members, but we're going to start and see this through the eyes of a few prominent ANC members.
Good evening, Iman. You'll remember that the ANC first came up with this step-aside rule in their conference in 2017. And then after that, they indicated that if you are charged with corruption or criminally charged, you must step aside and allow the processes to take place. But those who are implicated, and there are rumors about them being under investigations, they must face the integrity committee of the ANC. Then we saw during when the VBS matter was put.
That's the banking scandal.
Yes, yeah. The likes of Denim Caesar, where we saw them stepping aside voluntarily, and some mayors in Limpopo had to step aside. But things changed really quickly when during COVID-19, you remember there was 500 billion that was set aside only for COVID. And President Cyril Ramaphosa indicated or announced that he's going to make sure that not even a single cent is going to end up in the hands of the corrupt individuals. Then the corruption scandal involving his own spokesperson erupted when we saw Kusila Diko, who had to step aside during that time while investigations were going on. But let's quickly go into the actual people who are right now affected by this step aside. Unfortunately, that step-aside rule went straight into the head of the ANC Secretary General, Ace Magashule, who's now facing over 70 charges of corruption, fraud and maladministration in the Bloemfontein court. Magashule he's an ANC veteran. He's been the Premier of Free State from 2009 until 2018, when he had to go and take over the reins at Luthuli House as the Secretary General, because he was elected Secretary General in 2017. Right now, he has exhausted all avenues, because if you go to Constitutional Court and Constitutional Court says, no, the ANC is right, you have to step aside, then you have reached the ceiling. So Magashule right now is not qualified to stand for re-election or any other position or ANC work because of step-aside rule. Then you've got Zandile Gumede, the former mayor of the eThekwini Metro Municipality. Zandile had to step aside, had to resign. At some point, she had to resign when she was charged with corruption, maladministration, fraud, and money laundering in 2019. She resigned, and she also withdrew her resignation. But ANC went on and elected someone in the metro, in Kolisi Kaunda, and that's when she had to really relinquish her position. But interesting enough, she is now an MPL in KZN, and she was re-elected this year to the position of chairperson of the region in KZN. But she's still she's the chairperson of the region, but she's on step aside.
And there's more.
Yes, Olim Lamlili, the former mayor of Mangaung, is also involved in the asbestos case that involves also Ace Magashule. She's charged and she's on step aside. She doesn't qualify to stand for any position in the ANC as we speak. Denim Caesar voluntarily stepped aside in October 2018. This is the former treasurer of the ANC in Limpopo. According to the NPA, he was like a conveyor belt of monies that moved from municipalities to to the VBS. So they say he was actively involved in getting the municipalities to deposit money into VBS. As we speak, he voluntarily stepped aside. Not long ago in June, the ANC Limpopo was holding a conference. There were some who wanted him back to the positions in the PEC, but he himself said, I'm not available. As you can see, I'm observing, step aside. He is charged and is facing corruption and other charges.
Maswele, thank you very much for that and for that context. And the important thing is sometimes we forget as far back, as VBS and when all of that happened with regard to, monies and old people being affected. So it's a great reminder, I think, in some ways. Shall we turn things over to Tembiso now and talk about, or is there one more thing that we need to add?
I think there's more. There's more that they will have to show us on the screen. Andile Lungisa. The interesting character in the ANC. You know him. He's a former Youth League deputy president under Julius Malema. During the time, he was charged and convicted of assault GBH after an incident that happened in the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality, where he hit a DA councillor with a jug full of water, a glass jug, and the guy had to go to hospital and all that. He was charged and he was sentenced to 3 years. But the ANC, but he's now a PEC member after this year's conference in the what's the name? In Quebeca. He's now challenging the fact that ANC okayed him to contest the elections, right. PEC, but they now say he can't contest the Nasrec elections. He's
and these are our final ones, and I think also making the news today and just the other day as well. But
yes, Batabile Dlamini was convicted of perjury, and she had to pay. She got suspended sentence and a fine. She paid that, but the ANC is saying no. You must observe, step aside, as your charges are still fresh and all that. Then we know Tony Ngeni, what happened in the previous, not about a few days ago, and then he successfully appealed to the electoral committee of the ANC to say, but my charges were expunged, and he showed the evidence, and he's now he's successfully appealed, and he can stand for the re-election in the ANC NEC.
So he's totally free and clear, and he was also on the channel earlier today, talking about his experience and what this means for him now. He's
been talking. He has never been someone who reserves his comments. He's said everybody knows that Tony Ngeni, if facing challenges, he will speak out either on Twitter or on anyone who wants to give him an ear.
Maswele, thank you very much for that. Of course, we're going to see you in the days ahead. Stay, I want to hand things over to you now. Let's really hit the road to the ANC conference. And I suppose any conversation on that score can't start without the name of Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma.
Definitely, it has been a busy day. Of course, we all know that today, the ESCOM CEO, a few minutes ago, he resigned. And of course, in between, there have been a lot of sentiments and comments with regards to that. Of course, the DAMP simply saying, the ESCOM CEO has resigned. And of course, just bringing this new narrative, simply saying that the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, was caught in between Gwete Mantashe, and in between, of course, we all know that Gwete Mantashe is the Minister of Minerals. And in between, this is a sentiment that is bringing to simply saying Cyril Ramaphosa this time around has to show his hand. In between, we're seeing the Pinky Gobe simply saying SA it's been a hectic week in South Africa, and of course simply saying she woke up to the news that there's load shedding, and now this time around John Hlophe has been suspended by the president. It's been a busy day in between. Of course, the big one, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, we all know that today international news editor Sophie Mukwena had an interview with her, but let's take a look at the build-up to Nasrec, the comments that she has said on social media. She said, I think that the 55th National Conference should not formulate any resolutions. Of course, they should implement the existing one. This, she's adamant to simply saying the previous resolutions of the ANC were not that much fully implemented in between. Of course, this time around, of course, you could see there, this was one of the tweets that she sent, where she's simply saying, I thank the delegates from all the branches who actually voted for her, believing in her, nominating her to be, to contest for the leadership of the ANC. Now, the big one. We remember yesterday, she was one of the MPs to vote in support of the Section 89 of the Phala report. And then, of course, this is Kim simply saying by voting yesterday, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma stood for ordinary South Africans across the political divide and all of that division in between. So many people giving her the kudos. This time around, of course, one of the sentiment there simply saying she was just sitting next to Pravin Gordhan, and by her saying yes, she's in support of this report, that really shows that she's fearless in between. Going to another one, they're also giving her kudos for what she did. But this time around, let's reflect what she said today. You saw that interview. It has been taking place. It's going to be on the Globe. Watch the full interview there. She's simply saying the coming leadership must focus on unity in action. There must be action on the ground. She was of course, in conversation with international news editor Maswele Mokoena. And then, of course, here you could say there she was just expressing herself in terms of that, simply saying she didn't defy the rules yesterday. She was not defying the leadership. She was just voting, expressing her views in between. So those are some of the sentiment from her side. But now, as you can see, she said, I don't think we strongly implemented those rules. That's the sentiment, simply saying the 54th resolution should be implemented, and of course going to the other ones also in between. This one of the notable quotes from the interview she had. She said, I respect the leadership. Whatever I did yesterday was not disrespectful to the leadership. And like I said, watch the interview on the Globe exactly at 29:19. And of course, we are running a Twitter poll as we are going to Nazareth, and the intention of the poll that we're writing is just to recap, refresh our memories in terms of what took place in the previous conference. We are asking you, on which year was former ANC President Nelson Mandela first elected at the party's national conference? A, 1992, B, 1993, C, 1991. And the correct answer there, of course, is C, 1991. Back to you, Iman.
Thank you so much to Esther and Maswele. As we said, this is our new social media feature. We're going to have it every single day in the run-up to and during the conference, just to kind of help you with your sense-making and create a bigger perspective around the expectations and the developments and outcomes of the conference.